Move, you little monkey clones. Sidewalks aren't for zoo exhibits. The senior bully cut them off on the school sidewalk, shoulder blocking the path, knuckles white, breath hot with cafeteria grease as he laughed. 2 for 1 charity case, he added. The crowd hummed, phones raised, waiting for tears. A fist brushed Aaliyah's cheek. Testing. She tasted iron and kept her eyes down, counting breaths she practiced 1,000 times. The boy leaned closer, convinced their silence was fear. He had no idea he was inches from the only 2 students who could end him in under 3 seconds. The bus hissed to a stop in front of Westfield High School. Amara Washington stood first, her backpack gripped tight against her chest. She nudged Ayana, who pulled out her earbuds with a sigh. "Let's just get this over with," Amara whispered. The twins stepped off the bus together. The morning sun hit the brick building, making it look almost friendly. Almost. But Amara noticed everything else. The stares that followed them. The whispers that started the moment their feet touched the pavement. The way conversations stopped mid-sentence. Ayana lifted her chin, eyes forward. "Don't look at them. They're just curious." But Amara knew better. This wasn't curiosity. This was something else entirely. They walked side by side toward the entrance, perfectly in sync. Someone coughed a word that sounded suspiciously like a slur, followed by muffled laughter. "Fresh meat," a voice called out, loud enough to be heard, quiet enough to deny. Amara counted her breaths like her grandfather had taught her. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Her fingers brushed against Ayana's. A silent signal they'd used since childhood. Stay calm. Inside, a shoulder check sent Amara stumbling into the wall. "Oh, sorry," said a blonde girl with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Didn't see you there." Ayana's hand curled into a fist. Amara touched her sister's wrist. Not yet. Before they could reach their lockers, a wall of bodies appeared. 3 boys in Letterman jackets, led by one who stood slightly taller than the rest. His smile was easy, practiced, dangerous. "Well, look who it is," he said, leaning against the lockers as if he owned them. "The new students." "We need to get to our lockers," Amara said quietly. "I'm Cody Mercer, and you're blocking my view." "Move," Ayana said. The word clipped in hard. From the corner of her eye, Amara spotted a figure watching from the gym doorway. A man in his 50s, arms crossed, face expressionless. On his chest, the school logo. Beneath it, Coach Sorrell. He didn't move, didn't intervene. Just watched with a look that said he approved of every second. 5 minutes to the bell, Amara said quietly to her sister, "Let's just go around." As they turned to take the long way, Cody called after them, "Welcome to Westfield, girls. We're going to have so much fun this year." The laughter chased them all the way to their first class. 20 minutes into English, something hit Ayana's desk. A folded piece of paper. On it, someone had drawn a crude picture and written a single word. A racial slur that made Amara's stomach clench. Ayana raised her hand. Mr. Peterson sighed, took the paper, crumpled it, tossed it in the trash, and walked back to the board. As I was saying, Fitzgerald's use of color symbolism. That was it. No acknowledgement. No discipline. Nothing. By lunchtime, the pattern was clear. This wasn't random. This was organized. Practice. A system where everyone knew their role, except the twins. They were halfway through their lunch when a group of girls walked by. One tripped. So obviously fake that several people were already laughing before it happened. Her carton of milk sailed through the air, splashing across both their shirts. "Oh my God, I'm so clumsy," the girl exclaimed, hand covered her mouth in mock horror. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Milk dripped from Ayana's braids. A teacher appeared, not to help, but to tell them to clean up. After school, they sat in Principal Reeves's office and reported everything. "I understand your concerns," she said when they finished. "Moving to a new school can be quite an adjustment." "This isn't about adjustment," Ayana said, her voice rising. That note had... "I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding," Principal Reeves interrupted. "Our students are very welcoming once you get to know them." She stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. "Give it time. Focus on your studies." The walk home was quiet. Amara felt something building inside her, not just anger. The terrible clarity of seeing a system for what it really was. They're not going to do anything, Ayana said. She doesn't care. Amara reached out and gripped her wrist. The rules don't apply here, she said, the realization settling cold and heavy in her chest. Not for us. Ayana's eyes widened, then narrowed with understanding. The screen door creaked as they stepped into Mrs. Holloway's kitchen. The smell of cornbread and beans wrapped around them like a warm blanket. "There's my girls," Mrs. Holloway said, her face creasing with a smile that faltered when she saw their stained clothes. "What happened here?" "Spilled milk," Amara said quickly. "Cafeteria accident." Dinner was quiet. Mrs. Holloway watched them over her reading glasses. "How was the first day? Make any friends?" "It was fine," Amara said, still getting used to things. "Everyone's real friendly," Ayana added, her voice dripping with sarcasm she couldn't quite hide. Mrs. Holloway set down her spoon. "Listen here. I've lived in this town 40 years. I know what it can be like if something's happening." "We're okay, Mrs. H." Amara cut in. "Really?" "They're foster," Mother nodded slowly. "All right, but remember what I always say. The Lord helps those who help themselves." The twins finished in unison. "That's right." Mrs. Holloway touched each of their hands. "And so do I." After dinner, the twins slipped out to the backyard. "Ready?" Amara asked. Ayana nodded, dropping into a fighting stance their grandfather had drilled into them since they could walk. Back straight, weight distributed, hands loose but ready. They moved through the form slowly at first. Block, strike, pivot. Their grandfather's voice echoed in their memories. "Breath is life. Control your breath. Control the fight." As darkness fell, they picked up speed. Their shadows danced across the flower beds as they sparred. "Remember what Grandpa said," Amara whispered as they circled each other. The first rule, Ayana finished. Never start it, but always finish it. The next morning, in gym class, Coach Sorrell's smile had too many teeth as he divided them into pairs for wrestling practice. "Washington," he barked at Ayana, "you're with Thompson." Thompson was a senior, at least 50 pounds heavier. He grinned as she approached the mat. The first takedown was hard enough to knock the wind from Ayana's lungs. Coach Sorrell nodded approvingly. "Good form, Thompson." Again. Each time Ayana was slammed down, Coach Sorrell found some reason her technique was wrong. Why she needed to learn the hard way. When the bell finally rang, Ayana's arms were covered in mat burns. She didn't say a word as they changed, but Amara saw the rage building behind her eyes. The cafeteria was crowded when they entered. They were almost at their corner table when Cody stepped into their path. "Hey there, having a good day?" Amara stepped forward. "Move, please." "Or what?" Cody's eyes locked onto Ayana's tray. "You gonna do something about it?" "Last warning," Amara said softly. "Step aside." Cody's hand shot out, knocking Ayana's tray upward. Food splattered across her shirt. The slur he whispered was quiet, but clear in the sudden silence. A circle formed. Phones raised. Recording. Everyone waiting for the new girls to prove whatever story they'd already decided was true. Amara stepped between Cody and her sister. "Back off." Cody's response was a hard shove that sent her stumbling backward. The cafeteria went dead silent. Amara regained her balance and straightened slowly. Her expression changed. Not to anger, but to something colder, more dangerous. The look of someone who had been waiting for permission. Time slowed as Cody's fist swung in a wild arc toward Amara's head. But where others saw chaos, Amara saw geometry. Angles. Momentum. Pressure points her grandfather had drilled into her bones. She stepped inside his punch with practiced ease. Her left hand deflected his strike, while her right trapped his forearm against her chest. Control the center. Make their strength work against them. One sharp twist. That's all it took. The crack echoed through the cafeteria like a gunshot. Cody's scream followed a heartbeat later as he collapsed to his knees, cradling his broken wrist. Two more boys lunged forward. Jason Thompson and Mike Reeves, another football player. Ayana moved like lightning. Her fist drove up under Thompson's ribs with surgical precision. The impact lifted him off his feet. He crumpled, gasping like a landed fish. Ayana swept Reeves's legs out from under him and used his own momentum to slam him into the floor. "Behind you," Ayana shouted. Amara felt Derek Wilson trying to lock her in a bear hug from behind. She dropped her center of gravity. Her elbow shot back into his solar plexus. Then she gripped his arm and threw him over her hip. He hit the ground hard. The entire exchange had taken less than 30 seconds. Cody curled around his wrist. Thompson still couldn't breathe. Reeves lay spread-eagled, staring at the ceiling. Wilson had managed to crawl a few feet away, leaving his dignity behind on the floor. Coach Sorrell's voice cut through the chaos. "Animals. Look what these animals did." Security grabbed the twins roughly in Principal Reeves's office, while the boys were escorted to the nurse with gentle concern. The twins were treated like dangerous criminals. "Unprovoked assault," Principal Reeves said. "Excessive force." "They defended themselves," Mrs. Holloway interrupted firmly when she arrived. "And I want to see the video before anyone makes any decisions." By evening, the footage had spread across social media like wildfire. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some called it self-defense. Others called it an attack. Around 9, Mrs. Holloway received a call from attorney Malcolm Reed. "I've seen the footage," he said. "All angles. The provocation is clear. The response was proportional. They've got no case against your girls. I'd like to represent them. Pro bono." In their shared bedroom, Amara and Ayana sat on their beds, watching their phones light up. "You okay?" Amara asked softly. "You? Yeah." Amara looked out the news vans. "Think we went too far?" "No." Ayana's voice was firm. "Grandpa always said sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to show them exactly what they're dealing with." The rain drummed against the school bus windows the next day. News vans lined the school parking lot. Reporters shoved microphones toward passing students. Attorney Malcolm Reed waited under the bus shelter. "Walk in with me. Don't answer any questions." In the main office, Principal Reeves said, "Due to the involvement of legal counsel, all disciplinary actions are temporarily suspended pending a full investigation." "And the boys?" Reed asked. "Their parents are considering options." "I'm sure they are. Just as we're considering a civil rights lawsuit if any retribution occurs." The morning crawled by. Teachers called roll without looking at the twins, then taught facing the board. During group work, other students pulled their chairs away slightly, as if violence might be contagious. At school that evening, Mrs. Holloway gathered them in the living room. "We need to pray," she said, "for strength, for peace, for those boys, too. Maybe we should—" Amara's words cut off at a sharp crack from the front porch. The window exploded in orange light. Flames roared up the front wall. The acrid smell of gasoline filled the air. "Out now!" Amara grabbed Mrs. Holloway's arm, while Ayana ran for the back door. They half-carried Mrs. Holloway through the kitchen as neighbors began shouting outside. Fire trucks arrived within minutes. Police cars followed. 2 officers walked the perimeter with flashlights. "Looks like faulty wiring," one said, barely glancing at the obvious splash pattern of accelerant. "Could be," his partner agreed, ignoring the broken glass from the Molotov cocktail scattered across the yard. Then a black SUV pulled up. Chief Harold Mercer stepped out, his uniform crisp. He walked straight to his officers without sparing a glance at the burned porch or the families standing in their own yard. "Everything under control here?" Amara's voice was ice. "They should be scared of us." Their phones lit up with messages from unknown numbers. "We see you. Sleep tight. Tick-tock." Amara's hand found Ayana's in the dark, squeezing once. They understood what this was now. The town had chosen its targets. The hunt had begun. They weren't prey. They never had been. And soon the hunters would learn exactly what they'd cornered. Morning came too quickly. The moment they stepped into the main hallway, they saw him. Cody Mercer stood by his locker, his right wrist wrapped in a black splint. When he caught sight of them, his face split into a grin. "Look who it is. The circus freaks are back." The twins separated slightly, a fighting instinct so deeply ingrained they didn't need to discuss it. It happened during 4th period. Ayana headed to the gym locker room. She heard the door open behind her, but didn't turn fast enough. Cody was there. His good hand shot out to grab her arm, his fingers digging in deep enough to bruise. "That fire," he whispered. "That was just practice. We're going to teach you what happens to—" The rest of his threat disappeared in a spray of blood. Ayana's strike was pure reflex. Sharp, precise, devastatingly effective. The crunch of cartilage was loud in the empty locker room. Cody stumbled backward, blood pouring from his shattered nose. The alarm blared almost immediately, security responding with suspicious speed, as if they'd been waiting nearby. Ayana was already moving. She found Amara at their emergency meeting spot near the art room. One look was enough. They needed to go now. They slipped out through the gym's back exit. The sound of sirens grew in the distance. They didn't stop running until they reached the old abandoned football field 3 blocks away. Rusty bleachers, overgrown grass, perfect visibility, no blind spots. They were waiting for it. Amara said, "Security, the police, they wanted this." Ayana touched her arm where Cody had grabbed her. Purple marks were already forming. "We need to end this. On our terms." They created fake accounts, careful to route everything through public Wi-Fi. The messages were perfect bait. Hints of fear, promises of apology, everything Cody's ego needed to hear. "Please leave us alone. We'll do whatever you want. Meet us at the old field tonight. We're sorry." The responses came quickly. Dead, bringing the whole team. Going to learn respect. The twins spent the afternoon preparing the field, memorizing every dip in the ground, every loose board in the bleachers, every possible approach angle. "Remember what Pop said about choosing your ground?" Ayana asked. "The smartest fighter picks the field." Amara quoted. "The deadliest fighter owns it." They heard the engines before they saw the lights. Multiple vehicles. The stadium lights sputtered to life, casting uneven shadows across the abandoned field. Cody emerged first, his broken nose covered with white tape. 4 wrestlers flanked him, all wearing their team jackets like armor. "Look at this," Cody called out. They actually showed up to get their beating. He lifted a baseball bat and swung it experimentally. "Thought you were sorry," he taunted, advancing. "Thought you wanted to apologize." "We're here," Amara said simply, hands loose at her sides, ready but not threatening. That's not good enough anymore. Cody's grin turned ugly. 2 of his friends circled wider, trying to flank them. "You broke my wrist. You broke my nose. Now we break you. Last chance," Ayana warned. "Walk away." Cody lunged forward and shoved Amara hard. Instead, she rolled with the push, redirecting his momentum, and the real fight began. Ayana moved like water, flowing under a wild punch. She caught the attacker's extended arm, pulled him off balance, and her hip check sent him airborne before he crashed down hard. Amara slipped past another wrestler's guard. A sharp blow to his knee buckled his leg. A follow-up strike dropped him to the ground. The third boy hesitated. Ayana was on him before he could retreat, sweeping his legs and controlling his fall. The 4th wrestler backpedaled, tripped over his own feet, and ran for the cars. Cody stood frozen, the baseball bat hanging useless at his side. His face had lost all color, the confident sneer replaced by naked fear. "No, wait," he started, but Amara was already moving. 3 quick steps. First strike knocked the bat from his grip. Second caught him in the solar plexus. She swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard, all his bravado evaporating into the night air. "Please," he wheezed, curling into a protective ball. "Please don't." "Remember this feeling," Amara said quietly, standing over him. "Remember what it's like to be helpless. Remember what it's like to beg." In the distance, hidden behind the bleachers, a phone camera recorded everything. "We need to go now," Ayana said. They could hear sirens growing louder, red and blue lights on the access road. Without another word, the twins melted away from the field, moving fast but controlled, staying in the shadows, their footsteps nearly silent on the packed earth. The wrestlers lay scattered across the field. None tried to follow. The twins reached the tree line just as the first police car turned onto the access road. They disappeared into the darkness. The field fight video exploded overnight. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some called them heroes. Others called them thugs. By mid-morning, the NAACP released a statement demanding an investigation. Black Twitter erupted with hashtags. Justice of the twins trended nationwide. Someone found Confederate flag pictures on Coach Sorrell's private Facebook. He went unusually quiet. No statements. No classes. Just a locked office door and an empty parking spot. At 2 in the afternoon, Attorney Reed arrived and spread documents across the kitchen table. Restraining orders, records requests, formal complaints to the Department of Education's Civil Rights Division. "We've got momentum now," Reed said. "The video changes everything. It proves self-defense, shows premeditation on their part. We can demand access to all internal communications, expose the pattern of..." A heavy knock cut him off. The authoritative pound of law enforcement. "Ayana Washington." A voice boomed through the door. "This is the police. We have a warrant for your arrest." Mrs. Holloway's coffee cup slipped from her fingers, shattering on the linoleum. Chief Mercer himself stood front and center, holding up a document with undisguised satisfaction. Assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Based on the locker room incident, we have a witness statement from Coach Sorrell. "That's a lie." Amara stepped forward, but Reed held her back. Cody attacked her first. "Coach Sorrell wasn't even there. You can tell it to the judge." The handcuffs clicked close around Ayana's wrists. She didn't resist, but her eyes locked with Amara's. Steady, determined, unafraid. Mrs. Holloway pressed a hand to her chest, swaying on her feet. Her breathing became rapid and shallow. I can't, she gasped, then crumpled to the floor. Reed was already on his phone. "We need an ambulance. Possible heart attack." Chief Mercer barked. "Get the suspect in the car. Now!" They led Ayana out through the crowd of shock reporters. Cameras flashing like strobe lights. Inside, Mrs. Holloway lay pale and still while Reed performed chest compressions. Amara knelt beside her foster mother, tears streaming down her face. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Stress-induced cardiac event. BP through the roof. Through the window, Amara watched as her sister disappeared around the corner. The ambulance screamed away in the opposite direction. She stood alone in the chaos of the ransacked living room, surrounded by spilled coffee and scattered legal papers. At Memorial Hospital, a mild stroke brought on by severe stress. She's stable, but needs complete rest. Amara sat in a worn plastic chair, exhausted. Ayana in jail. Mrs. Holloway in the hospital. 2 women from Child Services appeared, folders in hand. "Given recent events, we have serious concerns about placement stability. We may need to consider separate placements." "No." The word came out sharp as a blade. "You're not separating us." Reed appeared at the end of the hallway. "Ladies," he nodded to the social workers, then turned to Amara. "We need to talk. Now." Wade Mercer is pushing to try on as an adult. He said without preamble. He's the DA. And Cody's uncle. Police closed the arson investigation. The school board is backing Principal Reeves. They're building their narrative while burying ours. Amara found a quiet corner of the parking lot and pulled out her phone. She opened the camera app, took a deep breath, and began recording. "My name is Amara Washington. I'm 16 years old. If you're seeing this, it means something has happened to me or my sister." She detailed each piece of evidence. The ignored complaints, the security footage, the fire report discrepancies, her tone controlled, factual, letting the truth speak for itself. "This isn't about bullying," she concluded. "This is about power, about who gets to feel safe in their own school, their own home, their own skin, and about what happens when you fight back." She saved the video, set it to post automatically, and turned toward the courthouse looming across the street. That night at Dot's Diner, Reed spread complaint forms across the table. Dozens of them, filed by black students over the past 3 years. Each one marked resolved or insufficient evidence in Principal Reeves's neat handwriting. Every single incident brushed under the rug. Reed said. But look at this. He pulled out another document. Fire Department's initial report. Timestamp, 9:47 p.m. But the police report says they didn't get the call until 10:15. The diner's back door creaked open. Mr. Briggs, the school janitor, slipped in quietly, glancing over his shoulder. Been collecting these for months, he said, producing a small flash drive. Security footage mostly. Things I wasn't supposed to see. Reed connected the drive to his laptop. The first video showed Coach Sorrell and Cody in an empty hallway after school hours, heads close together, Sorrell pointing and gesturing. The timestamp was a day before the locker room incident. He was coaching him, Mr. Briggs said, telling him where the cameras don't reach. The next clip showed Coach Sorrell at the security panel, deliberately adjusting cameras away from the side of the building facing the Holloway house. The timestamp matched the night of the fire, and this is what they really don't want getting out. The footage showed Chief Mercer's patrol car pulling up to the Holloway house. Smoke already visible. Timestamp, 9:32 p.m., 15 minutes before the fire was officially reported. He knew, Amara whispered. He knew it was coming. Radio dispatch log confirms it, Reed said. Chief Mercer was there before anyone reported it. The coach sets up the harassment. Principal Reeves blocks the complaints. The police chief covers it up. And his son Cody does the dirty work. Been happening for years. Mr. Briggs stood slowly. I should go. Been here too long already. He paused at the door. Your sister. She okay? She's strong. He nodded. Maybe strong enough to finally break this thing open. When do we release it? Amara asked. Give me a few days to organize the evidence. No. Amara's voice was firm. Ayana's in jail now. Mrs. Holloway's in the hospital now. When's homecoming? Reed sighed. Game starts at 7. Ceremony at halftime. Every powerful person in town will be there, Amara said. That's where they'll all be. Dark clouds hung heavy over the courthouse at 1:45 p.m. News vans lined the street. Amara stood on the public sidewalk, her phone live streaming, surrounded by people holding up their own cameras. Keep recording, she called out. Everything that happens here needs to be seen. The transport van rolled up on schedule. Chief Mercer stepped out from his SUV, face tight with controlled anger. Clear the area. This is secure prisoner transport. But the reporters held their ground. Sarah Collins pushed forward with her microphone. Chief Mercer, can you comment on allegations that your department ignored documented incidents of racial harassment at the high school? His jaw clenched. This is about a violent assault case. Nothing more. That's when Amara spotted them. Cody's friends moving into position along the courthouse steps. Jake Thompson, Marcus Webb, whose father was on the city council. 3 more boys from the cafeteria fight. They weren't here by accident. They're setting up an ambush, Amara said loudly. Look at how they're positioning themselves. More phones came up, capturing the scene from different angles. Ayana appeared in the van doorway. Handcuffed, head high, Amara pulled the flash drive from her pocket, holding it up so it caught the gray light. This contained security footage proving who really started the violence. It shows Coach Sorrell meeting with students before attacks. Shows Chief Mercer at our house before the fire was even reported. Jake Thompson lunged forward, trying to grab the drive. Amara was ready. She stepped inside his reach, deflected his grab, and drove her knee into his solar plexus. He doubled over. Marcus Webb charged in and Amara pivoted. One sharp hit to disable his shoulder, another to sweep his legs. Both boys went down hard. Self-defense, she called out clearly, backing away with her hands raised. I'm not pursuing them. I'm only defending myself. She tossed the flash drive in a high arc toward Sarah Collins. The reporter caught it as Chief Mercer shouted, "Stop her." But now there were too many witnesses, too many cameras. Sirens wailed in the distance. State police cruisers appeared at both ends of the street. Men in suits stepped out, holding up badges. State Bureau of Investigation. This scene is now under our jurisdiction. Chief Mercer's face went pale. This is a local matter. Not anymore. We've received multiple credible reports of civil rights violations and corruption. This courthouse is now a crime scene. Ayana's cuffs were removed. She moved immediately to stand beside her sister. The twins stood shoulder to shoulder, watching as Chief Mercer argued with state officials. FBI, Civil Rights Division, State Attorney General's office, their power structure crumbling in real time. "You okay?" Amara asked quietly. "Better now," Ayana replied. "They really thought they could trap us. They're used to people being afraid." Their mistake. Rain pelted the courthouse steps as Reed hurried the twins toward his car. "We need to show everyone. The whole town needs to see this where they can't look away." "Homecoming," Amara said. "Everyone who matters will be there." They drove through sheets of rain toward Jefferson High's football stadium. Friday night lights. Pack stands. A security guard named Williams met them at the side entrance. "Follow me. Some of us have been waiting for someone to expose this." They moved through service corridors to the control booth high above the bleachers. Inside, a student tech named Danny stared at them with wide eyes. "We need the main display," Amara said calmly. "The evidence has to be seen." Danny stepped back from the controls. "I don't want any part of stopping you." Amara plugged the flash drive in. Below, the crowd roared as their team scored. The screen flickered, then went black. When it came back on, security footage filled a massive display. Coach Sorrell and Cody in the empty hallway, the timestamp matching the attacks that followed. The crowd's cheering died into confused murmurs. Security cameras being redirected before the fire. Then split screen. Chief Mercer already on scene at the Holloway house before anyone had reported it. A gasp rippled through the stadium. "Turn it off." Coach Sorrell's voice boomed from the field. He charged toward the booth. "These thugs are trying to destroy our community." Cody followed. "You're dead. You hear me? Dead." The twins moved to the booth's external platform as Coach Sorrell reached the stairs. "You want to do this here?" Amara called down. "In front of everyone?" He lunged. Exactly what they needed. Amara stepped inside his wild swing and struck precisely, targeting nerve clusters that dropped him to his knees. She put him down with a clean shoulder lock. Cody charged at Ayana. She deflected his punch, countered with textbook precision. He stumbled back, slipped on the wet stairs, and landed hard. State troopers pushed through the crowd and took control of the scene. "Show it again!" someone shouted from the bleachers. The chant spread through the entire stadium. "Show it again. Show it again." Danny restarted the footage. The evidence played again, irrefutable in the rain. Handcuffs gleamed under the stadium lights as Coach Sorrell and Cody were secured. More state vehicles arrived. The homecoming game was forgotten as justice finally broke through the surface. The twins stood on the platform watching it unfold. Their grandfather had taught them that winning meant choosing the right moment, the right place, the right way to expose the truth. Here, under these lights, in front of the whole town, no one could pretend they didn't see. The fluorescent lights of the courthouse hallway buzzed overhead. Amara and Ayana sat on either side of Mrs. Holloway's wheelchair. Attorney Reed stood before them, scrolling through his phone. "It's everywhere," Reed said. "Every major network, every social platform. The evidence is bulletproof." Mrs. Holloway reached up and squeezed Amara's hand. "The Lord works in mysterious ways," she whispered, "sometimes through fists." On the television mounted to the wall, the state attorney general stood at a podium. "After reviewing extensive evidence, we are filing federal civil rights charges against Coach Trent Sorrell for conspiracy to violate civil rights, racial intimidation, and tampering with evidence. Additionally, Chief Harold Mercer is being charged with obstruction of justice and abuse of authority." The camera cut to live footage of Mercer being led out of the police station, his face ashen, officers removing his badge and gun belt. The man who had terrorized their community for decades looked small without his uniform. "Dear God," Mrs. Holloway breathed, crossing herself. "District Attorney Wade Mercer has been suspended pending criminal prosecution." Reed read from his phone. As if on cue, they heard shouting from the floor above. Wade Mercer's voice echoing down the stairwell in handcuffs. He caught sight of the twins. "You'll regret this," he snarled. "This town won't forget." "Move along." A state trooper cut him off. Ayana stood, her voice clear and steady. "No, we won't forget." That's the point. A court clerk hurried over with papers. Reed scanned them, his expression brightening. All charges against Ayana are dismissed with prejudice. They can never be refiled. And Amara's expulsion has been overturned and expunged from all records. Mrs. Holloway began to weep softly. "My girls," she said, "my brave, brave girls." A woman in a tailored suit approached, introducing herself as a director of a prominent black-led educational foundation. "We've been following your story. We want to offer you both full scholarships, any university you choose, and we've arranged immediate transfer to a private academy." She handed them thick folders. "We've secured a property for your family in a safe neighborhood, far from here. Everything is ready whenever you want to leave." Mrs. Holloway studied the papers with trembling hands. "A real home," she whispered. "No more looking over our shoulders." State troopers approached. "We'll escort you out when you're ready. Not because you need protection anymore, but to make sure no one tries to interfere with your departure." "We're ready," Amara said simply. They moved as a group through the courthouse. Outside, morning sunlight painted the sky in soft pinks and golds. The air felt cleaner somehow. Lighter. At the bottom of the steps, the twins paused. They looked back at the courthouse where justice had finally been served, at the town that had tried to break them. "Ready?" Ayana asked softly. Amara took her sister's hand. "Ready." They climbed into the SUV, and the convoy pulled away. Behind them, the media frenzy continued, but its noise faded quickly, each mile putting more distance between them and everything they'd exposed. That evening found them in their new home, surrounded by unopened boxes and the promise of peace. Through large windows, they watched the sun paint the unfamiliar horizon in brilliant orange. No police sirens wailed in the distance. No hostile whispers followed them here. They were free,